let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask for roll call, please.
Monterey,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
Delray Oaks,
Here.
Marina Coast,
Here.
Sand City.
Here.
And do we need to have Chair Moore provide a response? Do you have a statement for us, Chair Moore?
I don't have it in front of me, but effectively, I was diagnosed yesterday morning with COVID. As a consequence, I don't want to share that with any of you. So I'm using my one of two annual opportunities to join the meeting by Zoom. There is no one under the age of 18 or over the age of 18 in the room with me at my home.
Well, you sound well, and I wish you a speedy recovery, and many thanks for not sharing your stuff with us.
Yeah, yes, you're quite welcome. I would not wish this on anyone.
Well, sending you positive vibes. Hope you get well soon.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and with that, we'll go on to item 3, which is additions to agenda. Anybody wish to add anything to the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to 4, approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll come back to the committee and go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
We probably need a roll call because
We may need a roll call.
Roll call, please. Thank you.
Monterey,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Delray Oaks,
Yes.
Marina Coast,
Yes.
Sand City.
Yes.
All right, and with that, we'll move on to public comments. Anybody in the public wish to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, we'll bring it back to the committee. Move on to item number 6, consider approval of budget personnel committee meeting minutes from February 9th of 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, take it out to the public. Wait for it. Wait for it. All right, bring it back to committee. Ask for a roll call vote, please.
Monterey,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Delray Oaks,
Yes.
Marina Coast,
Yes.
Sand City.
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 7, consider recommending approval of proposed new purchasing budget change limits for the agency purchase policy. And with that, I will pass it to Fred.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. So as you know, we've had a couple new exec team members added for M1W. So we thought it'd be a good time to kind of relook at our purchasing policy and kind of update some of the limits for that. So we're actually proposing a couple different changes with this item and also recommending for the board, if the committee agrees to approve, recommend it for the board as well too. So the first thing is basically with our directors, we're looking to establish a new level for them. So basically for all the executive directors, they can approve items with this proposal up to $60,000. Currently they're at the manager level, which is at $35,000, but we feel that this would just provide additional, efficiencies and, streamline, the approval process as well too. The second thing as well too, currently the policy allows for annual increases based upon the Bay Area CPI in increments of 1,000. We just thought it'd make it a lot easier for staff and also for the board as well too, if we made that instead of $1,000 of increments of $5,000. So these proposed changes kind of reflect that as well too. And with that, we recommend that basically the committee recommend that the directors approve the proposed changes to policy, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm seeing none, so we'll take it out to the public. Anybody on the public wish to speak on this item? All right, seeing.
Sorry, there's one question I didn't think of until a moment ago. Through the chair, if I may.
Yep. So 1 second. Well, yes, you can go ahead. I was just closing out. I realized that my mic wasn't next to me, so I may have not been fully heard. So I will bring it back. Let me just double check. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? All right, so I'm not seeing any. I'll bring it back to the committee and pass it to Member Moore for a question.
Yeah, so Fred, I don't know if you have this information off the top of your head, but in the future, it might be useful for you for each of these categories to tell us how much that category has been used, either number of purchases made or total dollar value expended under each category. And if you happen to have that information right now, it might provide a little bit more information to us.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have it right now, but I'd be happy when we bring this before the board to provide that additional information as part of the staff report as well too.
Yeah, that would be good, because let's say under designated employees, there's been 2 such purchases under the $10,000 limit. Well, maybe the limit's, I don't know, too high, too low. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we could think about it. All right, thank you.
It's a good point.
Sure.
All right, any other comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no motion. Is there a motion?
I move. Staff
All
report.
right, moved and seconded. And then I'll ask for roll call.
Monterey,
Yes.
Castroville,
Yes.
Delray Oaks.
Yes.
Marina Coast,
Yes.
Sand City.
Yes.
All right, awesome. And with that, we'll go on to item number 8, which is staff reports. Thank you, Fred.
So no staff reports from me, Tammy or others?
Show me the money.
I'll report this.
It has to be
Last week,
one.
last week, Paul and I went up to Sacramento, made some visits, and we had a number of visits with some of the state water board folks. And, we kept talking about this, and I don't know, Paul may have mentioned it at the March board meeting. And, we were luckily able to get a $15 million grant with the state, which we finalized in late February of 2024. Jim's staff worked really hard to submit a legal opinion to finalize that agreement. Well, what we didn't know was when we went and talked to these folks last week at the state, where we ranked and what was the position and how we got this grant. And so basically, with all the budget problems that in the state, we were the only ones to get the full amount of the grant for the Pure Water Monterey expansion. Everybody else that was in line for an equivalent grant got reduced $10 million to now $5 million. And so there's a lot of heartburn within the state, not to us, but just why would the state get them to the point of, hey, you're at a grant agreement and now we're pulling it back. We were the only one to get across the goal line. So knowing that came from a number of people that we talked to was really, I guess we were really fortunate that some groups in the Sacramento were looking favorably upon us.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. So, and we heard this, we met with 3 of the 5 board members of the State Water Resources Control Board. We also met with the staff contact that Mike had been working with all these years. So it was through all ranges of that organization. They're like, you guys were the only ones in the state, which is somewhat remarkable to me, to be the only entity out there that had said, hey, you're going to get 15 million. Everyone else got bumped down to 5 or 0. I would contend that there probably is some animosity about us around with our peers. So we tend not to beat the drum too much on this, other than with you and in this community. So.
Sweet. That is awesome. Is there anything else? Because I don't know if we want to talk about the other grant that was applied for, if that's worthy of bringing up.
Sure. I think that's,
Particularly
Rachel,
for
would you
this
like to
committee. I mean,
come on up and just talk about the EPA grant?
on that one. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and ask your question first before
Yeah.
we switch topics?
So do you know, the people who were reduced, their grants were reduced to 5 million? Do you know what their asks were?
They're asking for 15. So all these were
We're
15
all-
million grants.
okay.
So I know there were at least 8 that got reduced. The ones I'm aware of, I know Irvine Ranch Water District, as well as Central Blue, which is sort of a coalition of Yeah, those Central Coast entities. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's, I mean, it's definitely people we interact with and that we know.
Oh, wow.
What was the name of that grant?
It was a state, wasn't a state revolving fund Prop 1 grant through the State Water Resources Control Board.
We can get you the official name if you need it, but it's on the
No,
agreement.
no, it's
and-
not that serious. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. All right,
So-
I think Rachel is going to, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, thank you for bringing up the EPA grant that some of you have heard in the Renewable Energy Ad Hoc Committee meeting, but I think it's good to highlight this. It's a long shot, but staff put a remarkable amount of time in trying to get this prepared for a unique opportunity that presented itself. So hence the reason, risk and reward, it's a higher risk, but it's also a higher reward potentially. And Rachel, Mike, Johanna headed this up.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So as Paul mentioned, it is a long shot, but it is, I know you've heard this term a lot from the federal government and from us, but unprecedented funding. This opportunity is a byproduct of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. And we're talking billions of dollars to support energy projects. However, a little bit different than some of the other federal funding opportunities that are coming from the infrastructure effort. This is a one-time funding opportunity. So it's not going to be available in the future. So as Paul was describing, that's why we kind of did a risk and time investment, kind of an ROI study. You know, do we put in the time, even though, you know, we wish we'd had more detailed project descriptions? Well, ultimately, yes, because the potential award is so significant. So what was the project? So this is the EPA's climate pollution reduction grant program. And their primary goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Phase 1 of the grant looked at studying priority climate action projects that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions. You could only apply for round 2 if you got a grant in round 1. Monterey One Water did not receive or was not eligible to pursue a grant in round 1, but again, that doesn't stop our team. So we found a way around. And basically what we did is we advocated with the state of California and participated in their priority climate action plan process to ensure that the measures they included in their plan could benefit from our project. And by doing that, it allowed us to use the funding they received in round 1 to produce a plan to make ourselves eligible for round 2. The project primary goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and is part of our overall Monterey Renewable Energy and Utility Reliability Program. Specifically, it's looking at enhanced gas conditioning. So as co-digestion comes online with the acceptance of organics, we will increase biogas production. And how do we ensure beneficial use for the biogas production? And so the data for this comes from those energy alternative assessments that have been done, have been presented at the ad hoc level, joint ad hoc level, and will come before this board as well. And so it's looking at doing potentially enhanced gas conditioning with that excess biogas. So cleaning it up to a level that would allow us to put it into the PG&E pipe and sell it to PG&E and other users. It has a pretty significant return on investment, enhanced gas conditioning, and based on the criteria within this funding op, the team determined that that was the most competitive project to put forward.
And what was the amount?
So it was a tiered funding opportunity. So the larger your ask, the fewer awards in that tier. So we went in the under 50 million mark, right in at 49.
Just under 50 million, you know.
49.
Yeah, pretty much.
49.
It was
999.
49.925 is what we came in on.
Very smart.
Yes, to keep us in that tier, but to also try to be realistic about how much it costs to do infrastructure projects today.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah, so something that was a little bit different in this funding opportunity, and I think we're going to see more, is that instead of letters of support, it required letters of commitment. So we have a lot of great legislative contacts and community contacts, and we've been historically really great at getting letters of support. People who champion and believe in our mission and our vision and our projects. At the federal level, they are shifting that focus now to letters of commitment. People who are willing to come alongside you and put their name on that project with you, essentially. They're committing in some way to help ensure you can successfully implement the project. So we had a number of letters from Congressman Panetta, from some of our local suppliers, in the agricultural industry, from PG&E, from Energia, who has helped us with our co-digestion project. So a little bit of a different process, but we were really proud in the end that so many people supported our effort and saw where we were going with this and willing to kind of put their name on it, including locally the United Way of Monterey County.
And I would just reiterate for folks, as staff has indicated, that this is a long shot, but I think regardless of the outcome, because we've been pretty successful, I think, at getting all the other kind of grant opportunities that we've applied for. So like a lot of kudos to staff for that. And even if we don't get this funding, I think the exercise of going through it was very valuable for the agency. And so I just give a lot of kudos to you all for the work that's being done.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. And one thing I think to think about as we go into looking for funding for renewable energy projects, historically, when we've gotten grants for, like, let's say Pure Water Monterey, those grant announcements or the criteria for the grants was fairly narrow. You're competing with other, like, potable reuse projects, for example. In this spectrum of kind of reducing greenhouse gas emissions or generating community resilience, you're going to see a much broader range of projects. So you're going to have our energy related project competing against maybe somebody who is looking to put in vehicle charging, EV charging stations up and down the coast. So it's going to be a different space than we've been in historically. So like you said, we'll definitely be debriefing and learning from each opportunity. But as we know, the only way to do it is to apply, get the feedback, and keep going.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Any comments from the committee? All right. Awesome. Thank you again. I appreciate it. I thought that was a helpful update. So hopefully you all appreciated the little bit of extra time that we took there. All right. And I think with that, we will bring it for committee member comments and reports. Anything over here?
Nothing here.
So one, if I may, through the chair.
Please.
And thank you, Rachel, for that briefing and doing the extra heavy lifting on that, you and Mike, et cetera. I've been watching some of the next door reaction to the publicity that has now been going out about our change of billing vendor, essentially from a private firm to the County of Monterey. It's a little bit amazing to see some of the pushback and how much of that pushback is based on misinformation or erroneous information, despite what our staff has been putting forth and notices and so forth. We'll just, I think, have to be mindful of the fact that for several decades, there have been a variety of forces at work. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you'll think there's some deep organization, secret organization behind it all. I'm not so convinced of that. It may simply be things in the environment that have changed. But at any rate, there's been a tremendous distrust of government, not just government, but even of businesses, of institutions, small and large. And we just have to be cognizant of the fact that we'll be trying to educate a segment of our customer base that is just wouldn't trust you or I or the general manager to walk out on a sunny day in Central Coast, California and say to them, hey, it's not raining. I'm not sure what we can do about that, but I think we all need to be on our toes and just try and provide the most professional responses to those folks we can. Thank you.
And I want to avoid going too deep into the conversation now, but I will just share that I encourage all board members that if they have any way of supporting communication, particularly as it relates to Nextdoor, to just work with staff. Rachel's been more than willing to help me respond to some messages, or at least making sure that staff is aware of those messages. So that way they're just aware of the comments that are being put out there and making sure that we can provide a response. And then the other point that I would bring up is that I believe one of the things that's going to be coming forward that we've been discussing in the ad hoc committee is, I don't know how to call it, maybe a tool kit for board members. So we'll have some guidance coming from staff in regards to how we can be supportive in regards to the communication process. Anything else? Alrighty, with that, we will go to public comments on closed session items. Anybody in the public wish to speak on the one closed session item we have, which is conference with labor negotiators? Going once, going twice. Alrighty, we'll bring it back to the committee. And number 12, I'm sorry, number 11 is closed session. So we will go ahead and adjourn to closed session. Thank you, everybody.
And I'm staying on right here. We're not going to a different Zoom.
You're good.
Okay. So probably recording needs to be turned off.
Thank you.
All right. It's 1:39. The board is adjourned from closed session. There's no reportable action. And I'll turn it over to the board to adjourn the meeting.
You. Without any further business, this committee is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Feel better, Tom.
I'll work on it. Thank you.